We're going to do something a little different today. Try as I might, with work and other things going on, a 5-day-a-week upload schedule just isn't feasible at the moment. I can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, no problem, but one of the things I've been looking at doing is incorporating a little bit more of the spreadsheet into each episode, and then I realized that's probably going to be a 5 to 7 minute video. Why not upload one of those during the week as well? So at least there's something going on the channel. So that is what we are doing today. I will give you just a brief rundown of where we are in the season. I'm not going to show you that, but we're going to go to the spreadsheet here in just a minute, and I'll show you what's going on there. Been a lot of work going on behind the scenes, although it frankly really won't look like it. Now this is probably going to change from episode to episode. That is the style in that. One of the problems I'm running into is I have an ultra wide monitor, and whatever window calc I have on, OBS tries to size the program to that. So if I grab the corner of calc here and I resize it, you'll see it'll grow smaller because OBS is trying to fit it within the window. So what I'm going to try and do is at least keep a consistent size to where you guys can see it, and I can still show up on the screen. If for whatever reason that does get in the way, let me know, and well, you know what, we can figure out how that's going to look here. Just a second. You know, frankly, in the grand scheme of things, that's probably a little bit better, so I'll bring myself back in. We're going to cover up just a little bit of the screen, but that shouldn't be a big issue. This was the team in October of 19 when I took it over. This was the team in January of 20, and as you can see, had a couple players go down. What I'm going to do here is ignore where that says height. That's actually age. And as you can see, my older players really started falling off physically. Jabalilo fell down in bravery, but that's because he was injured. There we go, a little bit more editing so you can see that a little bit clearer. Some of these aren't centering. It's got to be a spacing issue. There's probably a space in there or something like that. As you can see, though, getting back to the main reason of this, a lot of my younger players did improve, at least in a couple of areas. At the end of the season, I'm going to sort by age here again. As you can see, some of my older players did fall quite a bit. I'm not quite sure what happened here with Molina. That may have been injury related. The one thing that is very concerning, Jorge Vela fell down at least one in a bunch of categories, which didn't make a lot of sense. And the problem is I didn't sign him in the off season, so I can't go back and investigate why. If I still had him on the squad, I would look a little bit deeper into that. Part of me says when I set up my training in January, he was injured, and when I went to my training screen, I didn't see him, so I didn't assign him any training. So while the rest of the team was training, he was just standing on the sidelines cheering them on. And I don't remember any notifications about that. Usually you'll get a notice that says someone's upset with their training, someone's upset they're not getting enough training. It could be Jorge Vela just slipped through the cracks. But one of the things I also do is I do a beginning of the season to end of season comparison. So as you can see, Jorge Vela did fall quite a bit, and I need to fix this too. Sorry about that. For some reason, Calc was doing something funny with the OBS. I'll figure it out eventually. As you can see, as expected, my older players did fall off quite a bit physically. The surprising thing is Juanma Espinoza had 10 players in the match this season. He was the fans player of the year, and that's despite the fact he fell 2 in 3 of the categories and at least 1 in the others. Jorge Vela, again, the biggest surprise, but we talked about that. But as you can see, my youth players, all of them, starting about here, down to here, all improved in a bunch of areas. Getting into Jai improved the most just by taking a look at it. He improved in the most categories. So that was really what that was good. September of 20. This is the team as it stands at the moment, and this is comparing the team to how they looked in May. As you can see, we did get a bit younger. Our oldest player now is Habalilo. He's 30 years old. We brought in a bunch of players who are better than the ones we lost, I believe. The only concerning ones at the moment are, frankly, I'm not too worried about these yellow ones. I've mentioned this in the past. On the training, Football Manager likes to round. So if something goes up by a 0.1, or if an attribute goes up by a 0.1 or falls by a -1, if it happens to be in this weird area of 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, it rounds down. That means there's not a lot I can do about it unless I want to go in and investigate it. The one thing I will say is a youngster like Antonio Jesus, who's 18 years old, improving in as many categories as he did means my under-19s coach is doing a good job training. I handle all the senior training and things like that. I leave the rest to my under-19s coach in that. And as you can probably see, George is in the background there. I'm going to let him out. I'll be right back. So going forward in January, I'll take another attribute shot. We'll compare it to September. In June, I'll do another one compared to January. Then I'll do another end-of-year comparison, how they improved over the course of the season. And then when we get to players who have been here for a while, that is when the attribute analysis here will really come in handy, because we can see how much they've improved from year to year to year. I haven't done anything else with this sheet because, frankly, I don't think there's a need to, unless it's a formatting issue in terms of like colors or something like that. What I've been working on the past day or two is wage distribution. This is not complete yet. And players, which actually feeds into weight distribution. This is where we're going to go back to Football Manager for just a bit. So one of the things I like about Football Manager is the number of different screens you can create. One of the things I'm not a huge fan of with Football Manager is they don't have an option to export to CSV, which frankly just doesn't make a lot of sense. If I want to export this, I have to go here, go over to print screen, then print it out as a web page, and then I have to open up my web page, copy that, and then paste it into Calc. So what happens is, after you export it, you copy it into Calc or Excel, and they see it as text only. So anything that comes in as a number, you have to go in and format. And the other problem is getting everything to come in properly. When you paste it into Calc originally, like your 2.8K over here on the Football Manager screen, like this stuff here, your 55K, your 45.5K, things like that, comes in as K. There's a program, or there's a nifty little behind the scenes tweak you can use to replace the K with thousands, depending on what the number is. So if it's a K or an M or a B, it'll replace the K and then change it to the real value. The other problem you run into is, where exactly does the euro symbol go, and how do you set that up? So that took a little bit behind the scenes work as well. And then it was just a matter of making sure everything there was correct, and then you go back to the player sheet. The one thing I do want to point out is that even though the thing I do want to point out here, if you look at Kike Clemente and Christian Albert, the salary is what we are paying them to be here. So if we go back to player salary here and you sort it out, what you'll see is all the players are listed. That's their salary. That's when their contract expires, their agreed playing time, and their present value. Then I have a column over here, and what this essentially says is take the sum of all the players in F if they take the sum of all the players in F if they equal star player and add their salary together. So my star players at the moment make a total of 2,100 euros, which is correct because I believe I only have the one star player at the moment, who is Jorge Carrion, my advanced midfielder on the right. It's the same for important players, regular starters, squad players, fringe players, youngsters, youth prospects, breakthrough prospects, and first choice goalkeeper. And I'm sure there's categories that I'm missing here, but the nice thing is I can add them in. That's my total salary here. That's the total value of players I have on the squad. This 39 is the total number of players I have on the roster, including the under-19s and the B team. This here is just a count because the way I have it set up, my formula only goes to 99 down here, but you can, my formula only looks to 99 down here, I should say, but you can easily expand that if you need to. That is not a big deal. The other thing I've been working on, and I finally just kind of threw my hands up in the air and said, you know what, we're going to work with it the way it is, as I'm clicking all over the place here again, is the schedule. So I'm going to minimize this just a bit so you guys can see it a little bit better, and hopefully I can explain what's going on. As you saw on this sheet over here, this is our schedule for the year. This column N is the past 15 years of Group 4 results. The group we're in, I'm sorry, Group 3 results. No, Group 4. So go to Division B, it's the 3rd Division, Group 4. We're in the 3rd Division, Group 4. Good grief. These are the totals of the team, the next to last team that wasn't relegated. 51 is definitely an outlier. The average seems to be around 44, 45. You take that total, divide it by 15 seasons, you get 44.9. You round up to 45, and you say, I need 45 points in 38 games. That's 1.24, except I completely misstated that. If we go to the schedule, you want 46 points by the next to last week of the season. That way, 9 times out of 10, you are guaranteed to avoid relegation. The extra week there is just a buffer. So you need to average 1.24 points a week. The next week, you need 2.48, so on and so forth. And then, as you see here, this is the, on the right, this is 3rd Division Group 4. The teams that are participating this year. Last season, this is where they finished. R is they were relegated from the division above. P means they were promoted from the divisions below. Why we're picked to finish 3rd, I don't know. When the transfer window started, we were picked to finish 8th. I thought I had a decent transfer window. The press thought differently. They put us in 3rd. Our projected finish is here. Our actual finish, I will go through and do that during the course of the season. Over here on the right, you have what I consider to be, it's this little column right here, the strength of each team. The top teams I rate as a 3, the next are 2s, the next are, then you have your 1s, and then you have your 0s. And I have this one screwed up just a little bit. So we go there. So these bottom 5 teams, these bottom 6 teams were the teams that finished last in the division last year, or they're picked to finish last in the division this year. And Talavera actually really fell based on their transfer window. Those are the teams I would consider we should beat home and away more often than not. The next teams up will probably split. The blue teams, we're going to fight really hard to win at home. We'll probably lose away. The red teams, it's a coin toss. We could win at home. We could win away. Chances are, if we draw both, I'm happy with that. You go back over here. This is the schedule. Now, this doesn't include any Copa del Rey games or anything like that. I'm still trying to figure that out. Once I get to the 2nd Division and 1st Division of La Liga, I think I have a workaround for that. We shall have to see. But what we have here is the venues, the home and away, and then you will see the teams are color-coded to where they correspond over here. As an example, if I take Real Murcia and I change this to a 3, Real Murcia over here changes to a red, because I think I'm saying that Real Murcia is a really strong team. If I change that back to a 2, you'll see Real Murcia here changed back to a 2. As I go through the season recap, and usually what I do is when I export the attributes every 3 months, I'll go back into the season part here and I'll put in my results. This here is just a standard lookup where if I put in a draw, this formula here looks towards down here. It says a draw is equal to 1 point, adds it up, throws that in, and then I mentioned this before, I have a system going on here where this number is compared to that number. If it's above, it's green. If it's below, it goes to red. At some point in time here, yeah, starting right at some point in time, starting right here, you know, assuming I draw all these games in a row, I'm going to be under the red. You know, and this is a good example of, it's a good visual way to track where you stand in terms of being relegated. You can also adjust this for, you know, do I want to finish mid-table? Do I want to finish top of the league really doesn't matter. You just win all your games. At mid-table, if you're trying to avoid relegation, this is what I do. The other thing I use this for, and I mentioned this, is, you know, come the end of the season, I'm playing 3 teams that I think aren't all that good. Now, what I will do is in January, I will go back on this column here. I will restructure, I will renumber the teams. So if for whatever reason Mostoles is having a good season, maybe I'll change them from a 0 to a 2. I do that, now Mostoles is blue. And it's a way for me to judge the strength of the squad I'm playing. And given the time between games, if you look here, I've got 7 days between games. But between this game and this game, I've got 3 days. Well, Algericas is, I'm totally pronouncing that wrong, and I realize that, is not the best squad. Extremadura is also not the best squad, but they're a lot worse than Algericas. So maybe I play my first teamers against Algericas, and I play my second teamers and best bench players against Extremadura. You know, when you start, this comes, I use the left side of the screen of this more when I start getting further up the leagues and I start qualifying for continental competitions or league competitions. Like when I was playing Dunkirk in FM17, there were seasons where I had qualified for the Coup de France, the Coup de League, and the Champions League. And there were weeks where I'd have a League One game, a Coup de France game, a Champions League game, and a Coup de League game within the space of maybe 10 or 11 days. I mean, there were times where I had 4 games in 15 days. It was just insane. And using this to kind of keep track of the strength of the squad you're playing lets you know when resting your best players might be a good idea, or when you should only play your best players a half, sort of thing. So this is where we're at now. The things I need to work on this week, and I'm going to be doing this in my spare time. Going back to what I have over here, this is essentially a strength of schedule indicator. This is the total strength of the teams. I divide it up into quarters, but because it's a 38-game schedule, you have 2 of 10 and 2 of 9. So this kind of tells me what I can expect going forward in the season. As you can see, the first quarter of my season is infinitely harder than the second quarter of my season. The third quarter is fairly hard. The last quarter, not so much. This is assuming that these teams stay this strength. As an example, if I take UCAM Murcia and for whatever reason they fall off, I change them to a 0 over here. That'll change to a 0. That changes to a 0 there, and my strength of schedule there goes down to a 15. And it'll also adjust going down here as well. So this is just a way for me to take a really quick look at where I am and where I need to be. Going forward, I'll probably highlight this every 3 months when we go back and we look at where we stand with the players. I think what I'm going to try and do is do one of these episodes a week or so, probably on a Thursday. Right now it's 23 minutes long, but I'm reasonably sure I can edit this down to 15, and editing this down to 15 isn't going to take that long at all. So I'm going to end this here now. If there's something you would like to see, something you'd like me to point out, one of the things I am planning on doing is going into wage distribution a little bit more. But one of the things I do like this year is that when you go to a player, and we're going to flip back over to FM20 here in a bit. There we go. One of the things I do like is it will tell you this player is 3.5% of your club's total payroll. The other thing I like is if you go to the screen over here on the right, you got your payroll budget, tells you what you're spending, and this includes coaches and scouts, tells you your committed spending, which includes travel expenses. I will have to double check that. This is your available payroll a week, plus I have transfer budget, and I can always work around that. The other thing I'm going to start doing, I didn't do it last year, but there might be a way to go back and check. I believe if you go to the budget screen on the game, you can go back and do a yearly look at overall finances, income, last month, last season, last month, this season, last season. So yeah, I can go back and do it for 2019. This is just keeping track of our expenses. This is from my Dunkirk save, so it lets me know, you know, are we making money? Are we losing money? Where have we improved? Where do we not improve? And, you know, one of the things I like to look at is scouting costs. Am I spending too much on scouting costs? Right now at the lower divisions, that's not a big deal. When you kind of get up to the second, third divisions where you can increase it, you know, if you're finding that, hey, I'm spending a lot of money on scouting. You know, do you really need to be spending a lot of money on scouting? It's something I hope to cover in future episodes. I did find the reason why the spreadsheet was airing out the first time around is because the conditional formula I have was actually pointing to a tab that doesn't exist anymore. So got that fixed. And right now, this is the current state of the team, right here. So we're doing really good. The players are improving. The youth are improving. I've got a couple that next season will probably get some playing time. Our goal for the season is to finish mid-table, and that is what I'm aiming for. The press says we can finish third. The issue with that is there's no automatic promotion out of this division. There's a playoff. Like Cordoba won the division last year. They lost the promotion playoff, so they're back. They're picked to finish first. They got a strong squad. It's going to be really tough to get out of this division. The nice thing is, if you finish in the promotion playoff, though, you do qualify for the Copa del Rey. So, you know, finishing top 4 would be nice. That's not our goal this year. Our goal this year is mid-table. Next year's top 4, qualify for the Copa del Rey. Year after that, see if we can't challenge for winning out and getting promoted. This is going to take a little longer to get to La Liga than it would be if I was, you know, starting out in the Vanarama or something like that. Especially with this promotion playoff thing, you never know what's going to happen in, you know, winner takes all format. So, that said, if you did like what you've seen and heard, please have a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. This is going to go into the Real Jean playlist, but it's not going to be part of the complete episodes. I'm going to give it its own thing, you know, Spreadsheet episode 1 tag or something like that. If there's something you'd like to see a little bit more in detail, if there's something you'd like to see me try and do in terms of finances or salaries or graphs, let me know. I will try and figure it out. If there's something you'd like to see me try and do graphically, I can look into that. As a complete tangent, if you go out and you see the graphs that the pros use, that's a completely different program. That's R. And that's something I've looked at. I don't know if I can learn it. Tech support might be able to. He's 10. He picks that stuff up really quick. So we'll have to wait and see. But that said, and I know I'm repeating myself here, if you did like what you've seen and heard, please have a like. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Check out my Real High and Save as I try and get them to La Liga and the Champions League. It's going to be fun. My name's FM20. Thanks for watching.